I knew that our clients on LinkedIn, but I couldn't navigate my way into fully optimizing my profile to attract clients. That's the client I actually chased for 2 years. So the subject of my code image then was happy birthday to Michael. That is the subject of my code image. Something happened in 2019 that actually displaced a lot of freelancers. I knew that most of these platforms are a rented place, and it is not wise for you to build your mansion on a rented land. You can't be a good code emailer if you don't write enough poor code emails. My first worst code email would be,
Hi, Omoalhaja. How you doing?
I'm fine, I'm doing okay. How are you doing too?
I'm doing fine. Thank you for asking. I'm so happy to have you honor my invitation. And it's a pleasure to have you come talk to us about code emailing, especially to pertaining to freelancers. And for anybody who is seeing Omoalhaja for the first time, I want you to know that Omoalhaja is a freelancers influencer and freelancers mentor who shows his interest and empathy for freelancers across social media, ranging from Facebook to Twitter to LinkedIn, sharing tips and tricks about cold emailing and freelancing. And he owns one of the biggest freelancing community called Skill Africa. Once more, it's my pleasure to have you as my guest.
Thanks so much, Ada. Thank you for
Yeah,
contributing to South Africa. Thanks for what you do for the French community in Nigeria too.
thank you. Thank you. So, as a tradition, we have our previous guests drop a question for
Okay.
our incoming guests so that we can ask. You don't know who the guest is and they don't know you. But when the episode is out, the listeners will put the puzzles together. Okay? So, I'm going to ask you the question. Are you ready?
Definitely, I am.
Okay. The question is, what is the best advice you've gotten so far as relates to your finances? And what was your biggest financial mistake?
My biggest advice so far related to financing is to have multiple streams of income. And I think it actually came from one of my friends who is an expert in finances. He actually graduated, we went to the same school, OAU. So we were talking around, I think that was around 2017 when I was still new to freelancing. We left school in 2016, served in 2017. So during our service year, we were talking, and so we were like discussing the possibilities of venturing into freelancing full time, ditching 9 to 5, because confessionally, whenever you graduate from the university, the normal route is, to start submit applications, writing, um, job application test, right? So he kind of believed that we could do things without treading the normal routes, without, venturing into 9 to 5. So he told me, he said, even if you want to go into freelancing, you have to ensure that you have multiple stream of income. And for a start, I think that was actually what led me into leather making, when I started learning about how to make wristband with leather, for like 6, 7 months, it was like my major source of income when I was surfing, right? Before I had a big breakthrough in freelancing. So I would say that moving forward, it actually influences how I see freelancing as not as a side business, but as a major business. And again, not to focus clearly on freelancing, because whether you like it or not, there will be dry periods that you will hit a peak in your freelancing career when the clients are not forthcoming. And it's not that you've done something terrible. No, like, I think I like the tradition, culture in freelancing. So what happens when that occurs? So if you could pivot into like your other source of income, it could be consulting. It's going to be artisanal work. For me, like I said, I was making branded leather wristband for then there's used to be something we called end of the year party, like the send forth in secondary schools. So my sisters would be the one to market the wristbands for to our friends. Then my own job then was just to produce. I'm talking about a time when we were selling a wristband for like, I think for like 250 naira and 300 naira, and we could make 50, 60 in a week. So that was money for me. So when freelancing was not paying me,
Hmm.
so I had something that I was banking on. So like that was the advice I took very seriously, and it's paid off eventually. So the second part of the question is, what is the terrible financial mistake I made?
Your biggest financial, yeah.
My biggest financial mistake I made was venturing into a business that I had no knowledge of, no idea of. I mean, in 2018, I was very engrossed with freelancing. That time it was the peak of ICO, initial coin offering in crypto. There are many clients before me. That, this was a time people were making $4,500 in a month. Right? So I couldn't face other um businesses clearly. So what I was doing that time was like an angel investor. My friends approached me, let's do this thing, I give them money. Let's do that thing, I give them money. Virtually everything ran to a loss because I didn't have any knowledge about the businesses I venture into. I yes, and that's happened for like 2, 3 years. Venturing the businesses, agriculture, transport, branding and printing, stuff like that. Unfortunately for me, all run like a loss. And that's one business
Hmm.
advice that I have left over the years. Don't venture into what you know nothing of, or what you have no knowledge of. Even if it's just like a simple knowledge of that business, then you can go into it. Alternatively, if you know that you won't be like available to run a business or available to monitor the business, then it has to be someone very close to you that you trust. It could be your wife, it could be your husband, it could be your relative. Yes, it could be your friends. It depends on the how closely how close you are related to that friend, right? And so I'm not gonna invest in a business I have no knowledge of now because I've learned my lesson in a very hard way.
Hmm. That was quite insightful, and it was beautiful knowing that part of you. I'm not sure I've ever heard this story or read it anywhere before.
No,
So yeah, thank you for
I
sharing.
tell the story. I tell the story all the time. I tell the story all the time.
Right, right. Okay. Thank you so much for that. So let's get into your question. Are you ready for your questions?
Yes, I am. I am. Fine.
Okay. Okay. So the first question on the list is, tell us about your journey. How did you transition from traditional freelancing platforms to becoming an expert in cold emailing?
Oh, that's a very good question. I actually started freelancing as a writer on Fiverr. That was in late 2016 to early 2017. I started as a writer on Fiverr, particularly writing for stay-at-home mom. My first ever gig on Fiverr was, I think, if it was an article for a stay-at-home mom blog in the US.
Nice.
And I the clients paid me $5 per article. So the more articles I wrote, the more I earned. However, I'm someone that is always proactive. Whenever I find myself, I try to like think ahead of the possibilities. What happens? What if? So even when I was still struggling as a freelancer on Fiverr, I was also exploring other alternatives. You know, is there any way I could complement Fiverr with other platforms? Can I branch out from Fiverr? Because then you have to wait for like 15 days before your money will be cleared by Fiverr. you know, um, and these FIFA has this security imposition of they try to side with the client, not the freelancers. And the
Hmm.
competition was very, very much. So I tried to like explore the alternatives. That would led me to people per hour. People per hour that time was like seamless for everyone. You could join today and tomorrow you get your gig, right? But I was still not satisfied with the quality of clients coming my way. I knew something could be done. I knew something could be done better. So I started exploring ways. I started reading articles. Then it led me to LinkedIn in 2017. On LinkedIn, I knew that there were clients on LinkedIn, but I couldn't navigate my way into fully optimizing my profile to attract clients. I was struggling, and there was not this much resources, to learn from. You could just go on Facebook and YouTube. You could just go on, listen to Twitter Space from experienced freelancers. There it was all try and error, right? So when I was on LinkedIn, something happened. I met a client. That was 2017, I think, late 2017. I met a client that wanted me to write an SEO white paper for him. And he said he would pay me in his crypto. I think that time he actually proposed 14 or 15 ETH, like Ethereum for me. I said, no, no, I won't collect crypto. I want to be paid in fiat. That is like US dollars. So he now said, check my profile. You will see my contact details there. So when I check the profile, I scroll down to contact info on LinkedIn. Then I saw his email address. So copy the email address, then sent him a message. It's a pity. If I knew you asked this question, I would have screenshotted our conversation from LinkedIn to email. So I copied the email address, then just drafted a message informing him that it was the one that gave me the contact that instructed me to message in via code. He did not actually give his email address. He just said, check my profile, you will see my email address. Right. So it was just through try. What is this email address? And I'm sure that majority of people listening to this conversation today might not even know how to like get the contact info of your ID prospect, your ID clients on LinkedIn. I mean, people that you are connected to. If you check their profile, close through their profile, you see something like contact info, you definitely see their email address there. So when I send the emails, so I understood that it was even possible for me because that time, whenever I sent a message to a prospect on LinkedIn, they would not reply me. They wouldn't reply. Like, so I sent, in fact, every day I have to send up to like 60, 70 messages on LinkedIn. They would not reply me. So it was through that conversation that I got to understand that it was possible for me to get their contact info, their email address through their LinkedIn profile. So I started extracting manually their email address. So all the previous messages that I have sent on LinkedIn, I will send them through the to the to their message email address. So that's how I got to know about cold emailing. So the people that did not reply me, I discovered that they were the one that were replying me via their email address. So it was faster for them because most times they might not even check their LinkedIn for like days, for like 3, 4 days. They might not. But they are always checking because it's the business owners, they are always checking their email address. So it was like easier and faster for them to reply via emailing compared to LinkedIn. So that's why I just face squarely cold emailing. So that's like my journey from being a full-time freelancer on freelancing platforms, Upwork, 5 per hour into cold emailing.
Wow. That's a beautiful discovery. I mean, I'm so keen to hearing this because it's nice to know these parts of your story. I mean, I've known you for a while, and I think I only got to know you um when you are already good in this thing. So it's beautiful to know your story from when you started. Thank you so much for that. So I'll go to the next question now. The next question is, what inspired you to start Skill Africa? How has it evolved to become what you call the largest Telegram community of African freelancers?
Well, that's a very good question. And I will briefly walk you through Skill Africa's journey. And because it used to be called 0 to 5K, laptop lifestyle, then now Skill Africa. I'm from Isheyin in Oyo State. Okay, the area of Oyo State. I'm not sure if you know Isheyin, but Isheyin is actually is it the third or largest city in Oyo State after Ibadan. Yes, we are not predominantly known for tech, and that actually affected. my early exposure to technology. I didn't know anything about tech until I entered the university. Well, even when before I entered the university, I used to have a friend in secondary school. It's late now, Sunday. It was a bit exposed to technology. And by technology, I don't mean coding or designing. I'm talking about just tweaking all these um telecommunication network, changing IP addresses, downloading games from WebTrick and Cephalo that time. So he was a bit more exposed than I was, and so I became his friend. So I used to like go to his place. His place is about let's say between 10 to 15 minutes drive from where I stay. So I would just trek from my area to his place just for him to show me how he was doing it. Right. So that's like my early exposure to technology until I entered the university. Throughout my university, I was not exclusively into tech. I was more of, to play football, read books, and do arrow. Because of arrow, arrow is like making someone, So, but in my final year in OAU, I met a friend, a brother, who I would say is the um compass, the GPS of how I got my foot in tech and freelancing in general. Fanny is Fanny by name. Is one of the big boys now, right? So he introduced me to Fiverr. He said, "You write well, and I've read some of your articles, and I know that you make money through your writing." I was like, "How is that even possible? Do people pay people for writing?" You know. So when after my last paper in AU, this time I didn't have a laptop. I didn't have a laptop at all. So I was using a BlackBerry Curve 7. So my freelancing started with a BlackBerry Curve 7. There are mentors that time. There are mentors. There are tutors. Number one, they were all paid. You had to pay them before they could answer your messages or questions in their inbox. Even after payment, even after payment, they were like liberty to reply or not to reply you, even after payment. But I need to mention someone's name here. My brother, Mr. Ajay. I think out of all the mentors available that time, he was the one that was mostly readily available to newbies like us, right? And I could say that almost half of the people that started freelancing as a writer used his resources. Although they are paid, but you benefit hugely from his resources as an expert. So it was like a third war between the so-called established mentors and the newbies in the industry. So it was all through trial and error that you could establish yourself after them. So when I got my my feet in the industry in 2018, by 2018 I was already working with most of these ICO projects, and so I already established like I was firmly into freelancing. So I told myself, I said, if I later make something out of this freelancing, then I'm gonna start a movement in Nigeria that we eliminate that tall wall built between mentors and the newbies. Because if you say we want to make things sustainable
Hmm.
and we want to make things scalable, then we have to make it easier and easier for people coming after us to approach us, to ask questions. And we have to have a model to replicate across boards, regardless of the skills, regardless of the industry they operate in, regardless of where they stay. Right. So that was like the first motivation for me to start Scale Africa. So before I started, people were like, no, we don't need all this, we don't need that. There are resources available online. People can easily use Facebook, they can easily use Udemy and Linda and most of these edtech platforms. But I knew what I wanted to achieve. I
Hmm.
knew what I wanted to do. I knew that there were talented people buried and located in the remotest part of Nigeria that could benefit from our teachings, that could benefit from just simple talk, simple motivation, simple virtual dialogue. People who want to do something tangible with the internet, but who do not have that financial capacity to pay a mentor. So that's like the genesis, the motivation that led me into Scale Africa. And I don't want to do this just in Shein or in your state. I want to do this nationally and continentally. I mean, outside Africa. So, for instance, right now we have members in Tanzania, we have members in Ghana, majority of them in Kenya, right? So this is like the beginning and what led me into Scale Africa.
Wow, that's so inspiring. I mean, you took advantage of what was not available for you to pave the way for others behind you. That's really inspiring. Thank you for that. So the next question is, you often say move, you aren't a tree. Can you explain
Mhm.
the philosophy and how it applies to freelancers who are stuck in one approach?
Well, move you are not a tree. It's my philosophy, and I started using it in 2019. Something happened in 2019 that actually displaced a lot of freelancers. 2019, 2020. No, it was 2018, 2019. So Fiverr as a platform upgraded their platform, and that time there's this pseudonyms in freelancing. So this automatically relegated so many people, so many Nigerians, right? Some people got their account blocked, some were demoted to new user from level 2 to new user. They introduced new ranking algorithms, new ranking criteria that made it extremely difficult for Africans to navigate the platform. So people like migrated en masse from Fiverr into Upwork. And that time there was this belief that clients on Upwork are richer than those on Fiverr. Although it's debatable because it depends on how you see each platform. So people like migrated from Fiverr into Upwork, and the majority of people couldn't migrate. So that actually buried their freelancing journey, their freelancing dream, right? Even when we migrated to Upwork, me, I was combining so many platforms. I was combining Craigslist, I was combining people per hour, I was combining LinkedIn, cold emailing. I was also including, I also included Reddit as my job hunting website and platform. So I had this abundance of clients. You know, most times I could have 8, 7 clients, and this like a big contracts. So even when people are like lamenting of no gig, no contracts, I was shadow with gigs, contracts, deadlines, and stuff like that. So it's like the origin of move priority. Because if I had not moved, if I had not migrated from Wi-Fi to Upwork, from Upwork to people per hour, from people per hour to LinkedIn, to Craigslist, into Reddit, maybe I will be part of those whose freelancing career would have begged by now. So it was only true because I, you know, combined all those platforms. I did not rely heavily on a single platform. I knew that most of these platforms are a rented place, a rented land. And it is not wise for you to build your mansion, your bungalow on a rented land. Tomorrow now, FIFA could say, oh, you violated this rule and your debt is off. It could block your account. It could suspend your account. I have a friend who made more than $20 on Upwork and his account was terminated, was suspended. After months of going back and forth, we had to like succumb to that. Yes.
Let it go.
So if you are a freelancer, nothing restricts you to a single platform. No one says you should stick to just Fiverr or just Upwork. No one says that. As a matter of fact, the client, LinkedIn alone has up to 450 million users. You know what that means? 450 million users on LinkedIn. And more than half of these 450 million users are business owners and founders who are rich enough to pay you. So how many clients are there on Upwork and Fiverr combined? Let's say 5 million or 6 million on Fiverr and Upwork combined. Let's just exaggerate numbers. Let's say 5 or 6 million compared to about 12 million business owners on LinkedIn alone. So if I freelancer, I do not expect you to just say, I tried Fiverr for 4 months and nothing is working, then I give up. I was on Upwork for years and because nothing is working, then I give up. Have you tried LinkedIn? Have you tried people per hour? Have you tried Craigslist? Have you tried cold emailing? So it is just a, let me say, aggregation of these platforms. And by optimizing for your zone of genius, how do I mean? I mean, most times your ideal clients might not even be on Fiverr, might not be on Upwork. Maybe your ideal clients are on Craigslist. Maybe your ideal clients are on LinkedIn. Maybe, just maybe, your ideal client on Instagram. So why are you now centered on just Fiverr and Upwork? Why do you focus exclusively, heavily on just LinkedIn? Why not explore Facebook? For instance, if your clients are into e-commerce, for instance, or your clients are into MMO, that is make money online, there are so many groups on Facebook where you can get online coaches, life coaches, internet coaches, finance coaches, just name it. So many groups on Facebook alone. So why then do you wake and sleep on just Fiverr or Upwork? Move. You are not a tree. They are freelancers.
Chai, that one touched me. I felt it. The stray bullets hit
Yeah,
me.
yeah. That's the reality. That's the reality. And
Yeah.
majority of people
Yeah.
might not agree with me. I'm not expecting them to agree with me, but I'm talking from someone that has experienced Fiverr, the peak of Fiverr, that has experienced the peak of Upwork, that has experienced the peak of LinkedIn. I'm talking from that lens, and that's first-hand experience of someone that has aggregated all these platforms and know the benefits of not relying on a single platform. You might not agree with me when you listen to this
Hmm.
podcast, but deep within you, when you go home, you lock your door, lock your room, and ask yourself if what I said is the truth or not.
Right. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. The next question is, how do you balance time and energy across all these different client acquisition channels without burning out?
How do I what?
How do you balance time and energy across all these different client acquisition channels without burning out? How do you balance time across people per hour, Upwork, Fiverr, LinkedIn,
Well,
and
I
all
would
that?
say I don't have that energy again to scout for clients across the platforms now. And again, I've moved on from um small scale businesses now into working with established companies. And my job most times require that I work with a client for 3 4 months. Most times, I mean, I work in ESG, and ESG roles most time come as a consultancy, not as a freelancer. Although it might be a freelancer sort of, right? But to work on an ESG project now might take 3 to 4 months. So I don't have that energy. Most times, if you see me um posting anything on Twitter or on Telegram or on Facebook about, okay, I sent a cold email, I sent a LinkedIn it could be part of the classes that I had with some people. And I wanted to like demonstrate it live to them. In fact, most times my friends could approach me and tell me, okay, I want you to write a code email for this gig or job for me. So if you see me sending screenshots or talking about it could be one of such things. So I don't have the energy again to scout my clients on Upwork, Fiverr, people, and I don't have that energy again. I do not. But what I do is I try to optimize for my zone of genius. How do I mean? I mean, most times there could be clients on Upwork, you know, that I would like to reach out to on LinkedIn because maybe I don't want to spend my connects on Upwork. So it's more of combining Upwork with LinkedIn. So for instance, now if I see a contact person on Upwork, the name of the company on Upwork, then I try to look them up on LinkedIn to see if I could connect with the person. Then I see the job that they're advertising on Upwork, use that as an anchor to write a cold email to that person on LinkedIn. So that's how I work now.
Wow. Thank you. The next question is what are the biggest mistakes you see freelancers making when they start their first cold emailing?
The mistakes are many. I mean, I I review more than 100 code email every day. So I know what each freelancer writes. I know how they reason when they write their code emailing. Number one is they try to sell their services through that first code email. I mean, the traditional mentality of cold email is don't expect the prospect or the lead to reply you with your first email, a first cold email. Don't expect a response. If you're lucky, you can get a response. But traditionally, naturally, don't expect them to reply you through your first cold email. Particularly if you are a newbie, you're just starting out with emailing. Don't expect that. You should at least send up to like 3, 4 follow-ups before they reply you. Even me, if I send a cold email to cold clients, not warm clients, cold clients, I'll be expecting a response from there. I'll have it in my mind that okay, 3, 4 days after, I need to send a follow-up email. Unfortunately, people who are still new to freelancing, who are still new to cold emailing are expecting, and that's why they bombard, they pack all their offers into into a single cold email.
Hmm.
That first cold email. It does not work that way. These people that to send cold emails to do not know you. They don't even know you exist. Even without you, they are making money. So how do you now convince them that you can help them make more money? That is essence of cold emailing.
Hmm.
Because you are not the one that designed the flyer for them. You're not the one that helped them with their contents on the website. You're not the one that developed their website for them. So why do you think you are different or you are even more competent than those that did all those for them? Why do you want them to change their current
Hmm.
employees, their workers for you? And how are you expecting them to make that very important decision with just a code email? I mean, they're already making money, they're hitting their target, even making more money. And you are telling them that, okay, that guy, those people that work for you, I can do more. And you expect them to make that singular decision just within 24, 48 hours of sending a code email. It does not work. You have to prove to them, number one, that, okay, this thing that I'm proposing is me giving away value. Okay, yes, I know that you have a website. I know that you've built a funnel. I know that you are still engaging in repetitive tasks. But what if I propose doing it this way, and this is exactly how you should do it? That is value. First 3, 4, or first two of your code emails should be education. There shouldn't be hard selling. Hey, reply me. Hey, no. There shouldn't be hard selling. It should be about education. Oh, I know that you've designed this logo. I know that you have a functioning website. However, what if you could restructure or realign your CTA from the middle of your page into the bottom page, left outside corner of your page. I'm saying this because typical SaaS websites in this age, this is how they design their websites. And this is what I have done with this client in the past. And this is how I was able to help them double their revenues. You know, I'm not saying anything. I'm just proposing. I'm just advising them. I'm just like just like a suggestion. Okay, why not do it this way? If you are not hard selling, the clients will be like, "Oh, if you could be doing all this for me without paying you, what happens if I pay you? If you could be recommending
Hmm.
all this
Hmm.
proofing framework that I've seen, this replicable framework, according to what you told me, backed by numbers, by statistics, if you could recommend all this, what will not happen if I hire you to implement all this for me?" So that's like a gamble. They are gambling. They are gambling. And if they want them to gamble on you correctly, then you
Right.
have to be ready to give everything away. Because they are also thinking about their return on investment. They're not a charity, they're not an NGO. They want something in return from hiring you. The question is, can you deliver? They hire you. I mean, most of them have been scammed. Most of them have been defrauded. Most of them have been disappointed when they hire, when they trusted someone like you. Someone like you, someone who deserves even better than you. Then how do you convince them that you are
Hmm.
different from that person? All this should be included in your coding million. And number two is the structure of the code million shouldn't be too long so that it bugs them. It should be something scannable, something they could just scan, read through within few seconds and they understand what you are selling to them. So that's like the framework and some of the mistakes that newbies make when they start their code emailing exercise.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That was very insightful. So, you had mentioned before in one of your posts on a Google search techniques for finding, let's say, fitness trainer emails. Can you walk us through your process for finding prospect emails in different industries?
Yes. If for instance, if you are into writing, writing, if you are into design, I mean social media designs, graphics, logo, banners, flyers, stuff like that. If you are into automation, not AI agent, I mean automation, then sorry, if you're into social media management, I think the best set of people we can target are those into local businesses. By local businesses, I'm talking about something physical, something that has a location, business that has a location, fitness trainer, gym instructor, chiropractors, dentists, lawyers, locksmiths, moving and your location, swimming pool repair. The businesses in these categories are all your ID clients. Then how do you find them? How do you reach out to them? The first thing you should know is that the point of contact of most of these people in the US, for instance, and the majority of your people, of your clients who come from the US using this approach, the point of contact for most of these people are through either Instagram or Facebook. That's the point of contact. For instance, if an average American in the US, you just go to Google and type Salon Tech, nail Tech near me on Google, nail Tech near me. And what Google will do is to redirect them to their Google My Business page. Most times, it could be my Google My Business page. But we want to reverse SEO. We want to reverse engineer this search. We want to tell Google, the first thing to type is site, then semicolon, then instruct Google. I want you to restrict your search to this particular website. It could be Instagram, it could be Facebook. site semicolon, for instance, Facebook. I want you to restrict your search to just Facebook. That means only returns the keywords, I mean the search with this particular keywords that are only searchable or available on Facebook. If you start with sites, semicolon Facebook, then into double quotation, you include the keywords. It could be fitness coach and related keywords they use in that industry. Fitness coach, gym instructor, weight loss, yoga. You put all these keywords into double quotation. Then you hit search. When you hit search, you will notice that. And in your bullet search, make sure you include what you want Google to return. I mean, sites, facebook.com, the keywords in double quotation. Then another keyword should be at gmail.com, at yahoo.com, at aol.com, or any other extension of email addresses. So I use just like 3 or 4. I use at gmail.com, I use at yahoo.com, at aol.com. So you are telling Google, return all keywords with either a Gmail account, an address, or Yahoo mail address, or AOL address in this particular niche, in gym instructor niche, but restrict your search to just Facebook. If you do this, you have at least 500 email addresses that you can reach out to as a freelancer. Maybe as a designer, maybe as a social media manager, maybe as an automation expert or a writer or social media manager. You have at least 500 email addresses, working email addresses that you can reach out to. So you see that this does not require a connect. It does not require you to optimize your account. What it requires is your consistency and how well can you package your offer. Then how ready are you to give everything away? For instance, even to tomorrow, if I knew that this client, he has a very high customer lifetime value, and I know that the client is my typical client, you know, like high ticket clients, I can work for them for free for like 2 weeks. I've seen newbie freelancers saying they can't work for free. If you want to compete, you have to compete with everything you have. Even till tomorrow, I still do it. And this is how I got into some of the roles that I have done in the past. Chain, Concordium, Jigs,
Hmm.
Diversify, and some of these were 3 companies. That's how I got into most of these companies by writing for free for them articles. So you should be ready to compete with everything you have in your arsenal to outcompete your competitors. Right. So you should be ready to give everything away. It's in providing value that the client say, oh, this guy is invested in our growth. I would like to work with. Thank you.
Thank you so much. At some point, I forgot I was a host. I thought I was in a class. I only needed a pen and paper to jot down things.
Welcome. Welcome.
Thank you so much. What tools? The next question is, what tools and resources do you recommend for cold emailing, like email finders, CRMs, templates, etc.?
For tools, if you're just starting out as a cold emailer, like you're just starting out, you've not recorded much success in your cold emailing. Number one of my rule is don't pay for any tool. Don't pay for any software. Don't. Yes. That is if you are just starting out. I didn't pay for any software. I didn't pay for any tool. I use the freely available resources. I use Apollo, although Apollo is it's kind of capped. But everything you need to start your cold emailing is on Apollo. Apollo.io. Then of recent last year, I got to use contactout.com. They both have an extension, right? And there's another called Phantom Buster. Phantom Buster. Phantom Buster works, it's kind of assembles all your leads into a platform that you can send your cold email to them. And it also works with LinkedIn as an extension, particularly if you want to connect with decision makers on LinkedIn. Then let's not forget, I think one hack people are not using is using LinkedIn Premium. If you want to start using LinkedIn Premium, it is free for the first 30 days. For the first month, it is free for you. LinkedIn is not gonna charge you. And in that LinkedIn Premium, there are there are countless opportunities and benefits for you, particularly the email credits. Every month, LinkedIn as a premium user gives you up to 15 email credits. This means you can send a message to whoever you meet on LinkedIn without connecting with them as a premium user. And as a premium user, you can aggregate the leads, the contacts of decision makers that you can export into Phantom Buster. So in a month, you have enough leads to work with, like your ideal client avatar to work with on LinkedIn Premium. So LinkedIn Premium, free trial, Apollo.io, contact out, Phantom Buster. Then there is another email reader. Email reader is just like it will tell you if your cold mail is opened or not. It will alert you. So that if after like 24 hours, your cold email was opened and the client did not reply you, you know that okay, I need to send a follow-up message to this client since he or she has already opened my cold email. That one is free too. Although they have like a limit, but the free version is enough for you to do whatever you want to do as a cold emailer. So that like those are the tools that I use as the first time. However, if you want to scale, that is you're not new to code emailing again. You want to scale that like paid tools that you can use. Lemlist is there for you. Then the paid version of Apollo is there for you to Crunchbase. Yes, Crunchbase is there for you to you can use Crunchbase. Crunchbase, Apollo, the paid version. Lemlist, it allows you to send bulk code emailing 1,000, 2,000. Lemlist. So, but as a starter, I'm not expecting you to buy anything as a code emailer.
That was really helpful. And it sounded more like an unpopular opinion because, I mean, I was waiting to hear subscribe to this, subscribe to that, subscribe to this, but that was really helpful.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. So, the next question is, how important is email deliverability? That is, what steps should freelancers take to ensure their emails actually get to the client's inbox
Well,
and not
I
spam?
think the key determinants of your code emailing, the key determinants are the subjects of your code email. That's a key determinant. If your subject, if it resembles the regular email that they receive, it will go into the spam folder of the recipient. So you have to be creative with your subject. Very, very creative with your subject. After the subject, it's your personalized first line. I think this is where most people make the mistakes. Personalized first line. How do I mean? Your personalized first line is something that is extremely narrowly defined for that recipient. Like that first line is it's not randomly written, it's uniquely written for them and them alone. So if you send that message, that personalized first line to another recipient, it becomes totally irrelevant, useless, because it does not resonate with them. So your subject and your personalized first line must be
Hmm.
extremely narrowed to the recipient. If you do this, your email is not going to end up in the spam folder of the recipient. And again, there are also some keywords that you must avoid when I write a cold email. Why? Because Some of these people are tech savvy. They know how to operate software very well. They have they have automatically programmed their inbox such that if your email contains some keywords, automatically it will be filtered out. It will be filtered. So you should avoid some keywords, you know, increased ROI, depth into some of these keywords that are common. You should avoid them.
Wow. Thank you so much. That was really, 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 really helpful. Thank you. How much research should go into each cold email? Like, what's the sweet spot between personalization and efficiency?
I think last week or so I had a code emailing masterclass for some people. Why? Because I discovered that the majority of people are not being creative with their code email. Then I figured out how to use ChatGPT or LLM to write that first line personalization for code emailing. So I really do not fall for engage myself
Hmm.
in extensive research. Now, I mean, before I used to, but now I no longer do that. Why? Because I use LLM, I use ChatGPT, I use Grok, I use ChatGPT and Grok. And again, it does not have to be something extensive or something elaborate. It's just something creative, something unusual. For instance, if you know that your recipient is being called a nickname, yes, it could be part of your code emailing. Yes. If you know that there is a popular sport
Hmm.
played in the annual matter of your recipient. For instance, now, if I want to send a code email to someone that attended University of Buffalo in the US, maybe there's a popular sport in University of Buffalo, or maybe, just by checking the profiles of the recipient, this is something unusual. It could be, I was actually very surprised you moving from a graduate trainee to a lead technical expert within 3 years. That's something that's not common. It could be part of your code email. It could be. It could be one of their previous articles. You could anchor your code email on their previous articles or the one, or their latest products in the market. Or if there is a change in management, leadership of that company, those are anchors. Those are some key important things, factor you can include in your code emailing. So I really do not engage in extensive research now with
Hmm.
Grok and ChatGPT. I just extract some key points in the profile of my recipes, and I use that in my code email.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So I'm saying that for one to really excel in this code emailing thing, you must put on some sort of creativity in you, because it's not just enough to just use a template. You have to find something very tailored, and not just tailored, something that will hit their sweet spots to be able
Definitely,
to send them a
definitely.
code email. Thank you. What industries or business types tend to respond best to cold emails? Sorry, I'll take that again. What industries or business types tend to respond best to cold emails from freelancers?
Well, from my experience, I don't think there is a universal criteria or universal benchmark of the companies or industry that respond to COVID faster or better. I just say that you should know how to write a good code email, number one. Then go after industries that are in, or companies or businesses that are in hiring mode. By hiring mode, I think I'm talking about businesses or companies that maybe they have a change of leadership or management. They recently introduced a new product or services to the market. Maybe they recently raised funding from investors, right? Or they are expanding. These four are super, super important. And to some extent, they determine the success of your coding minute compared to industries that are downsizing. If
Hmm.
you send them a code minute, they're not going to employ you because they are already downsizing compared to those that are expanding their businesses. And you can use Quick for all this. You can use Quick. If you go to Google and type leading healthcare companies raise funding, you will see many businesses in healthcare niche or industry that were recently funded. That means these are potential leads or prospects you can send an email to. So it should be companies or businesses in high mode, right? And I'll give you like 4 pointers you can use if they are truly in high mode.
So that leads me to my next question, which says, how do you identify the right decision makers in companies? Who should freelancers actually be emailing?
I think that's the simplest question now because all companies, almost all the companies have founders or co-founders. They have CEOs, they have CMOs, you know, but it also requires creativity. For instance, when I was into Web3, fully into Web3, and I want to send a cold email, I target three people: the CEO or the founder, the CTO, and the CMO. These are the people that make decisions. CMO for marketing, CTO for tech, CEO for general management of the company. Yes. So if you want to send a code email, you should target decision makers, particularly the C-suite executive, right? Chief investment officer, CIO if you're into finance, CTO if you're into tech, CMO if you're into marketing, head of design, chief data officer. These are like the C-suite executives that it percent code email to because they decide, they make decisions. Even if they will invite you to like the equivalent manager, the hiring manager, it will be internally. Oh, this was sent me a code email or sent me a message. Could you, for instance, last week I sent a code email to a founder, that's the founder of Inspired, Macmillian. So he replied me and copy his executive assistant in the email. So my point of contact
Hmm.
now is executive assistant, the EA to the CEO. But if you want to send a code email, then it has to be decision
Hmm.
makers, CEO, CMO, CTOs, all the CCC, or head of design, head of marketing, or VP of sales. These are decision makers.
Right. Right. Thank you. Thank you. So, can you walk us through your ideal cold email structure? What elements must every cold
I, I,
email
I think
include?
I already discussed, we discussed this from subject to first line personalization. Second paragraph should be who you are and what you do, why you are different. The third one should be your competitive advantage, your competitive edge. For instance, if you check some of the samples of my code email, you will see something I actually relate my childhood experience to the code email and the service I'm currently rendering now. It could be climate change, degradation, food security, economic mismanagement, and most of these poisonous arrows of climate change in sustainability. So your competitive advantage could be you are once a victim of that thing. For instance, if you are into SEO and your recipient is into healthcare, it could be when you are sick or when there was an emergency and you went to Google to look for healthcare hospitals near me. Unfortunately, the first two pages of the Google results were all ads, or the first two pages were not properly optimized for visibility. That's like the kind of first-hand experience of the issues that you want to solve in SEO. If there is automation, for instance, it could be when you are surfing as a core member, 80% of your most productive hours were spent on manually entering figures. Most times it's could lead to error, human-induced errors. Most time it's affected or influenced the eventual results, and this affected decision. That shows first-hand experience of the danger of manual entry of repetitive tasks. And now you have specialized in addressing this issue. That makes you an ideal freelancer for such a recipient. That is your competitive advantage. It's your hedge.
Hmm.
That is different from someone at reach out and just saying, I will automate this task for you, I'll do all that, using all those technical jargons. Business owners are not, in reality, interested whether you are the expert in Zapier, whether you are an expert in NHN, whether you are the best in Make.com. They're not interested. Technically, they're not interested. What they're interested in, how can you use Make? How can you use Zapier? How can you use that knowledge of NHN to help them achieve their goals? Then how can you simplify these technical jargons so that they understand it? And this should be included in your code email. And the last one, your code email structure, is the CTA, call
Wow.
to action. I've seen people even attaching their Calendly invitation link to their code email. That is wrong. It is wrong because you are sending a message to someone of higher authority than you. You are still instructing them click a link, which could be a phishing link. How now? If you are the one, you click it.
Hmm.
Your CTA could be.
Hmm.
I'm wondering if you are available this week to discuss a potential synergy. Or it could be, would Tuesday next week work for you at 12 a.m. CET? 12 a.m. CET should be their time there. Don't even call your own time. It should be at that time. CET, um, US hours, GMT plus 2, GMT plus 3, and those time zone that we use. It is not the
Hmm.
client that will tell you, no, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday are booked for me. Are you available on Friday? That's how to structure your city.
Hmm.
Don't attach a link. Even if you want to attach a link to your code emailing, please and please minimize the links. In fact, my own philosophy that I always work with, I don't send a sample to a client unless they ask. I don't.
Wow.
Yes, unless they ask me. I don't. And most times, they don't even ask me for a sample. You just ask me, how much do you charge? What's the rate? Because of how I frame the structure, the components of my code email. So that's
Um, we have a
a
lot
whole
of
lot
work
to
to
learn.
do.
A whole
The
lot to
work is
learn. A whole lot to learn.
plenty. All right. Thank you for that. Um, what is the optimal email length? How much information should you include in your first outreach? So I feel like there's a thin line between sending a cold email and showing the client or proving to the client that you can do this, and you end up talking too much. I don't know. Can you
Well,
address
the
that?
the quantity on the volume of content, of explanation, of package selling or your offer depends on the awareness of the clients, of the recipients. For instance, if they're in the market already, like they're in the market already, you know that these people are hiring. You shouldn't talk more. You shouldn't. In fact, I want to see if I can. Okay, no. If they are recruiting or hiring, you shouldn't talk much. It could be something like 2 paragraphs, 3 paragraphs at most, and each paragraph should be like 3, 4 sentences at most. If they're hiring, if you are not so sure whether they are hiring or not, then it could be, however, 4 paragraphs at most. Each paragraph 3 to 5. If you are not so sure, whether they're hiring or not. Why? Because these people are extremely busy. When they are checking your cold email, maybe they're hanging out with their families, their friends, maybe they're in a dinner already. So it is not, they're not actively reading. Just like, let me just do this to while away time. And your cold email was something
Hmm.
scannable. Something they can just glance through. Okay, this is what it says. This is what that's what. That is if you're not so sure they're hiring. But if they're hiring, just go straight to the point. Just go straight to what you can do for them, what you can deliver for them if they're hiring. So that's like the difference between being a client, being in high mode, and a prospect that they're not so sure whether they're hiring or not.
Thank you. Thank you. How do you demonstrate value quickly without overwhelming the prospects with information?
How do I demonstrate value quickly? I demonstrate value quickly by showing them I understand their industry, their businesses, their pain points, their aspirations. I know that last year they recorded so value in earnings, in revenues, and part of their New Year message by their CEO is they want to double and triple those revenues last year. I know that last week their chief investment officer attended a seminar in New York, and this is what they said. And I know that their previous 4 blog posts talk about solving these issues, solving that issue, and this is how I can help them. That is different from a cold email that
Hmm.
screams me. I am because I'm the best. I am because it
Hmm.
is a kind of recalibration of thinking process from the me mentality to you mentality, and putting them first, putting their interests first, showing them that your ideal clients,
Hmm.
your audience are looking for an asset management company that understands impact investments. I mean that is like the typical code email. And for automation, by understanding that as a lead generation agency, they are leaking leads through manual entry, that their account executive spend 8 7 hours every day synchronizing between the media buying subgroup with those in direct response. You know, you are discussing something internally now, something that someone in the industry only understands, away from just surface level conversation, what everybody can read online. That's showing them that I am in this industry and I know what you're going through. I know your aspirations. I know your pain points. I know your frustrations. I know what keep you awake at night. And this is how I'm positioned to help you solve them, help you achieve them, or help you solve address them. So that's how to demonstrate value with that of having your prospect.
So this leads me to my next question. How do you reference a company's recent projects or achievements without sounding like you're flattering them?
Well, I learned something recently that if you are selling to Americans, then there's nothing like flattery. In fact, you should flatter them. You should let them know they're the best. Yes,
Oh, wow.
that's what Americans love.
Okay. New
Reference
knowledge.
their reference their awards, reference what they did, reference their achievements, reference how they were able to double their revenue within 3 years. Reference it. Yes.
Okay. 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 So what's your follow-up strategy? How many times should a freelancer follow up and what are the intervals?
My follow-up strategy, I have 3 scripts and they're in grade. I have like my best follow-up script, my best ever follow-up script. that, in fact, most times when I need money, I just tell my friend, I just tell them that if you have sent a cold email and I send you this script, if the client does not reply you, I'll give you something. But if the client reply you, yeah, you have to pay me 100,000 naira because I know that the client will reply. I have a script.
Hmm.
I have like a kind of mid scripts that I sell, I send to clients and just just send it. So you understand? And I think the last one that I shared last
Hmm.
week on Twitter was like the lowest of the low script that I use. People used it on Twitter last week, and many people got a response. So for the interfere, that's why I talk about the extension to truly know if the client open your code email. So if the client open your code email, wait for like 24 hours before. Okay, let's say for instance now I send a code email today, right? And tomorrow the extension alerts me that this client has opened your mail. I won't send a follow-up message tomorrow. It will be on Friday, on Saturday, if I send a follow-up message.
That's like two
Yes.
to 3 days interval. Okay. Okay. How do you handle rejection or no response without getting discouraged?
It used to annoy me. 2019, 2020, it used to annoy me, but now I've grown up to understand that rejection is part of the journey. You can't do without rejection. You can't do without rejection. But what I do is, if a client rejects me, or if I receive what we call love letter is like a rejection email, right? If a client rejects me now, I ensure that I reply that rejection 10 different cold emails. So it's the game of numbers. So if I receive 2 rejections today before Friday, I make sure that I reply the 2 rejections with at least 20 fresh code emails that I've sent to clients. So that's my own mentality.
Hmm.
Yes.
You channel the
Yes. I
energy.
see it as an invitation to do more, an invitation to refine and redefine my code email. Because I used to think that I'm the best code emailer. I used to think that. So if you're not replying me, then I'm doing something wrong. Yes.
At what point do you think a person should stop
At that
following up
point,
with a
when
client? Like
when the
sending
client tells
follow
you stop,
ups.
I'm not interested. If you not tell you stop, I'm not interested, then follow them. Number to number.
Okay. 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 What's a realistic response rate freelancers should expect when starting out versus when they are
When you're starting
experienced?
out, let's say you send 100 code emails. When you're starting out, then you should be expecting something like 6 or 7. If you're lucky, 10. Yes. If you're lucky, 10. But right now, me,
Hmm.
right now, if I send, let's say 10 code emails today, I'm sure that 7 will reply me. 70% open rate. I'm sure. 7, 6 will
Hmm.
reply me. Yes. So the question of would they proceed with the gig or with the job is different. I'm talking about that response itself. And you should be aiming at response first, not closing. You can't close intentional and serious business owners through code emailing. That is that truth. And it is something that most people don't know. You can't close a high ticket client through code emailing. Code emailing is not for closing. It's for awareness that someone is somewhere
Hmm.
that could help you. You close clients on a call. It could be a video
Hmm.
call, it could be a WhatsApp call, just on a call.
Wow.
They want to hear your voice. They want to see you. How do you look like? Before I give you my money, let me see what you look like. So your cold email is just to attract them to your services, to know that you exist and to know that you can help them. achieve their goals.
Whoa! I need water to digest all this. This is too much for my throat.
Mm. There's so many things to learn, darling. So many things to learn as a freelancer.
Wow. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Even me myself, I'm going to take my time and digest this video because there's a whole lot to learn. How do you handle pricing discussions that come up in cold email conversations?
Well, it depends on the clients. High ticket clients, low ticket clients. If I know that you are a multi-million-dollar company, then I charge you high. I charge you high. And most times it depends, particularly for some of my clients that are into charity, NGO, and governments. If I know that you have a network that I want to break into, I don't even charge you if it's something I can do freely for you. There's a woman called
Hmm.
Catherine Foster. She once worked with the World Bank. There was a time she was looking for someone to write a content for her. Then I offered to work for free for her. So after working for her, delivering the gig, she added me to a WhatsApp group where I met, I'm talking about some of the biggest people in the world when it comes to international agencies. People from the World Bank, people from the IMF, people from the UN, right? That's where I wanted to break into. I want to break into that network. That's different. If I see that, oh, th- these guys are still like building, then I have like a price. I charge for that. For instance, last week I reached out to a company in Canada called, what's the name? Echo Echo Events. This is some Echo Events, something like that. Echo Events. So he asked me, how much do you charge? I said, $80 per hour. I said, no, that's too much. I'll get back to you. I said, what's your budget? The $20, $30. I said, no, I charge that. Because I know their worth. I know that they can pay even more than that. So it's like, negotiation is a different class entirely as a freelancer. And
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
recommend a book called Never Split Difference by Chris Foss. This is my copy. Never Split Difference by Chris Foss. This is the best book you ever read on negotiation. If you sell anything whatsoever, online or offline, that's the best book you will ever read. Negotiation. Chris Foss. So it teaches you how to negotiate, teaches you how to package your offer.
Thank you for that
Yes,
recommendation.
it teaches you how to handle objection. When the client says, "Oh, that is too expensive," how do you handle that? When the client says, "I'll get back to you," how do you handle that? So you find some of these lessons in this.
Thank you.
Yeah, come.
What are hidden job markets freelancers can explore?
Hidden job markets. Yes, if you're targeting freelancers in the EU, I you can use genie.co, DJINNI.co, genie.co. I am aware that they have good clients from Russia, from Ukraine, from Poland, from Norway, from France inclusive. If you're into Web3 and you want to target rich clients in Web3, then you can use jobs.solana.com, jobs.solana.com. You can use jobs.ton.com. If you go to jobs.solana.com, you will see at least 1,000 fresh jobs every day, at least from protocols that are built on Solana ecosystem.
Hmm.
Yes.
Can you spell them?
Jobs.solana.com, solana.com. Then you can go to jobs.ton.com. Ton is like
Okay.
the open network, blockchain ecosystem. Then there's another website called web3.career. This is for everybody that want to work in Web3. Web3.career has a platform for designers, for developers, for writers, for automation experts. Just name it. You see jobs that are freshly updated every day. And again, LinkedIn, obviously, LinkedIn is there for you. For LinkedIn, most times I don't apply to jobs on LinkedIn. I prefer reaching out to the decision makers in those companies on LinkedIn. Although I know that they are advertising for a job on LinkedIn, I don't necessarily apply for that job. I don't, because they might not even see your application. Your application might be filtered out by AI, by ATS or AI, what they use. So I prefer reaching out to decision makers in those companies. Then I think there is also a job opportunity on Reddit. Yes, Reddit has a job opportunity. Most don't know about Reddit. And recently, I think Contra is moving now again. I've seen people, Nigerians, earning good money on Contra.com. There is feedcoyote.com, feedcoyote.com.
So our next question is, what's your approach to nurturing prospects who aren't ready to hire immediately?
My approach is to educate them, to send them updates in their industry. Whenever there's news, whenever there is any information, new releases, new trend, new movement. I try to educate them. I try to check their website to see if they have updated the website in relation to the trending news, to emerging technology in the industry. Um, you know, it is like purely from an educational standpoint, not to sell to them. That's the client I actually chased for 2 years, a good 2 years. So on this day, he posted on LinkedIn that he was celebrating the birthday of his son, and I told myself, I said, "Wow, this is like a very good entry point for me to reach out to these clients." So the subject of my code email then was "Happy Birthday to Michael." That's the subject of my code email. So I said, "Hi, Gran. Um, not surprised that you are succeeding in your enterprise and your business because you've raised an intelligent son, Michael. Happy birthday to him." That's how it got to be my client. Just because, of
Whoa.
simple message. So you gotta stay updated to your industry. Follow them on the platform that they are most active. Are they more active on Facebook? Follow them. Be more active on Facebook. Are they more active on X? As a matter of fact, most of these founders in AI, most of these founders in software as a services, Web3 and AI, stuff like that, they are mostly active on X than any other platforms. Yes, they are mostly active on X. But for traditional industries, lawyers, stuff like most of them in enterprise businesses, you find them on LinkedIn. So we should be more active on the platforms that they are mostly active. Then again, my tactics and my strategy is to also follow the influencers in that niche or industry. For instance, I got to know that there is now emission scope 4 in ESG. What we used to have were just scope 1, scope 2, scope 3. Then last week, by following one of the influencers, I got to know that there is new emission called scope 4. I didn't know before. I was not aware. It was just through following him that I got to know that. So you should
Hmm.
familiar with the trends in the industry, then follow the thought leaders in your industry. In
Right.
in automation, we have Nick Sarev, we have Jimmy Lee, we have what's the name of this guy? S- Zabir. Those are like some people that the industry listens to. If there is any updates, they will surely talk about it. Then, if there are like super software used in your industry, follow the official page. That's like the direct, fastest way to stay updated. For
Hmm.
instance, 2 3 days ago, I think NSA recently updated their note, the community notes, right? I'm not sure if most AI automation people in that use anything even use community notes, and like so many possibilities are embedded in those notes. How will you know if you don't follow people that use it? The experts talks with us. So that's like my ways, my strategies of nurturing clients that are not responsive or that are not ready to hire me right now.
Right. Thank you so much. If someone is listening to this and wants to send their first cold email tomorrow, what's your first advice to them?
My first advice to them is don't overthink it.
Hmm.
50% of the time we end up not sending cold email because we overthink it. I'm thinking, what should I include? Am I so sure that I want to do this? Do I want to do this? Oh no, this is not a good email. I'm not gonna send it. You see, no one knows a good email until you send it. The best cold emails are the emails that are replied. That's the best cold email. The best cold, okay. Someone wrote a cold email that's ordinarily I would say, oh, write this cold email. Then she sent the cold email and the client replied, s- to her. That is the best cold email to her because yes,
You
she
got a
got the response.
response.
Yes. So don't be afraid of sending cold emails. Send those cold emails. You can't be a good cold emailer if you don't write enough poor cold emails.
Hmm. Hmm. I felt that. I felt that you can't be a good code emailer
You need
if
to
you do
write
not
enough,
write enough
more
poor code emails.
poor cold emails to become a good cold emailer. There's no secret anywhere.
Hmm.
Like I said, I review cold emails every day. People send me cold emails every day. And by people, I mean the West, the Oyibos. They send me cold emails every day. I want to partner with you. We want to do this. Whenever I read a cold email and I said to myself, I said, my job is still secure because of how
Hmm.
poorly they wrote the cold emails. So
Hmm.
no one will tell you this cold email won't work if you don't send it. What if it works? What if? Just what if?
But you can
So
never
write more
know
cold
until you
emails,
try.
write more poor. Yes, that's my advice.
Wow. If you could give one if you could give just one piece of advice to a freelancer struggling to get clients, what could it be?
What it could be? Then my advice is tomorrow could be your day. Why not show up tomorrow? You could be tired, you could be frustrated. You could have sent messages, write the best proposal on Upwork, optimize your profile on LinkedIn, and you've reached that tipping point of telling yourself, "Oh, I've tried enough." Yes, you have tried enough, but what if tomorrow is your day? If you don't show up,
Hmm.
that will be gone. Show up. Tomorrow could be your day.
Hmm. What's your worst first code email and what did you learn from it?
I don't think I can remember that. I don't think I remember that. But I've written some poor coding that anytime I have a flashback, I just laugh it off. I think that would be my first worst code email would be writing a code email like an article. Yeah, writing a code email like an you know how bulky an article used to be now. 1,000 words.
Mm-hmm.
Who will read that? A code email? Who will read that? No
Hmm.
one will no one has time to read it. So it's just a structure. Subject first, Personalized first line, second. Second paragraph should be who you are and what you do. Why are you different? Is that's what should be your CTA. That's like structure, component of the coding.
Wow.
So that's it.
This was such an insightful session. Personally, I learned, and I'm happy I'm learning firsthand before the public gets to see this. I'm very, very grateful. It was such a pleasure to have you on my
You're welcome.
podcast, and I'm so grateful. But just before you go, I would love for you to drop a question for the next guest. Could be anything.
My question is, what is the future of freelancing for African freelancers?
Okay, okay. I look forward to who the next guest is and what their response will be.
Thank you.
Thank you
All
so
right,
much,
thank.
Omoalhaja. Do take care of yourself.
Bye.